Um, yeah, that feels, like once you start getting, people or groups, sort of selling services, to outside clients, you start to get into a different thing. Right. And there's different probably legal implications and all of that. And right, that's I think the idea of the possibility around an agency is like, could we come together, and do that? But it does feel like a separate piece, and it feels, yeah, like not. It'd be hard to like tackle all of that, at the same time.
If
I
if we
think, yeah.
go ahead, sorry.
Oh no, I just think that it's not necessary to have all that in place in order to have the membership group running effectively. So yeah, like there's pieces that can slot in as everything moves along, but I think the membership group can grow first and then grow those other pieces. That's my feeling.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree. So does that then mean that uh that we'd say we would change the name, and it would be, I guess it would still be HSC, but would we say, oh, we're, like start calling it Holistic Systems Collective?
Well, that's a big conversation.
Yeah. Or is it like, hey, Holistic Systems Cooperative is okay, but we're not really like worrying about, acting as a, we're not like moving towards being a cooperative for this, this sort of member group community. And maybe that's not something we need to decide now, but it's just, it's a question to pop in.
Kim, did you have anything you wanted to say there before?
Um, um, I guess I'm just thinking we should just call it what it is, and if it is a collective. But I don't know what that means, changing your name, what you have to do with it, I mean, is that a easy, I mean, because if it's already done and it's hard, I don't see that. I mean, I wouldn't want to set up any stumbling blocks that would impede progress. So, maybe it is just saying HSC cooperative, or, Holistic Systems Cooperative acting as a collective.
Read the subtext. Yeah.
There you go. We could kind of let it simmer, as a group for, for a 2 or 3 weeks and kind of
Well,
see what,
we could start floating proposals out there, and not necessarily on the, yeah, just, I mean, to say, okay, here's what the governance committee has come up with. Do you have a preference on collective or cooperative? Here's what a cooperative is, here's what a collective is. And, we are a cooperative right now, but maybe, yeah. And what is it that makes us a cooperative right now? Perhaps. Just to start getting some decisions,
yeah. Because I think you could, right, just in like, in my head, I could sort of think of like a collective or a cooperative, just as far as like what, a group of people, doing something, they could be synonymous to me.
Yeah.
But I agree with what you all are saying as far as like, like from a legal standpoint and technically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could keep a hold of the name and the website, like for that future use. And then it's there like as if the group wants to become like officially a cooperative. But in terms of like having a name for the membership group, I feel like my personal feeling at this point is that make it as clear as possible so that it attracts the right people and attracts people who, because if someone's saying maybe they're not looking for a cooperative, maybe they're looking for a membership group. So, or they're looking for some place where they can do what we're doing, would they be searching for a cooperative then? Maybe not. Um, hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I have started like when I'm describing it to people, and I like this, it seems clear, but I have actually started saying like we're a freelancers and independent contractors collective,
Mhm.
or like we're a workers, collective, value sharing and resource pooling collective. Because I do think there's a connotation there that like people get, but
Someone said to me that she lives in Venezuela, and she said that collectives are like a really bad thing down there because they're very politicized, and like,
Oh,
there's collectivos that go around with guns and like, do
oh,
all this stuff. So
oh wow.
there's like, yeah, I was like, because I
well,
was not thinking about anything like that.
well, we
Yeah,
could just go to a cartel, we could.
So,
we could, yeah,
yeah,
cartel.
we could be a cartel.
I don't even know the definition of a cartel, but now that I think about it, like, I'd be interested in be like, what's the definition of a cartel? It's probably like nothing bad, but like when you think of cartels, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they had the whole socialism thing down in South America too. So people have real connotations about what collective means. I'm not saying I don't like it, but
Hmm.
it because for me, I think of like an artist collective or like something like that. It's very like collaborative and fun. So yeah, different connotations.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I definitely think when I think of like a collective, it's like a group of people, working together, sharing, you know,
Mhm.
sort of same with cooperative in a sense, but there is a work, like a worker owned cooperative, which
Yeah.
does have a different connotation.
Well, and I think it has a positive one for the most part, right? I
Oh,
mean,
I
it's
think
like
so, absolutely.
co-ops in the United States have been used for like electric services to bring together, I guess, different providers in a collective, and I mean in a cooperative. I guess that's how that works. And I
Yeah,
just looked up what you just said, Christine, and yeah, there's a lot of negativity about collectivism. I didn't
Yeah,
associated
I
with
wow.
didn't realize
Soviet
that.
Union and Eastern Bloc countries, and yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Huh.
maybe as far as image goes, then, yeah, it's a cooperative, but I mean, I think most of our members right now are, well, that's not true. But they're either US or, uh, so are you actually Australian, Christine?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Mhm.
Well, I did look up cartel. I think we actually can rule that one out. Yeah, it's not
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
we
not
don't have enough
Darn.
guns.
You
yeah.
brought so much spice to it.
I know, I know. I was hoping it'd just be like, something that was like, a group of like-minded,
Yeah.
whatever. But
Drug dealers. Yeah.
yeah, no, it's got a pretty negative sort of connotation.
Yeah.
Uh,
Colluding, fixing prices,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
all right.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Mhm.
Um, so okay, so well, maybe we kind of float that around for a little bit. Um, and especially like, yeah, as far as like the name, because then yeah, then do we the name, the website, that address and all that, it's whatever works, whatever makes the most sense. And I think, we are talking about it in a way where it might make sense.
We could make a proposal just to assess this and look at it. We don't have to have the answer. We just have the proposal it needs attention.
Yeah, like the first step of a proposal, like a sense making. Which actually was, well, I think I have one more question to come back to sociocracy. If we, so Kim, like, my question is, if we decide on sociocracy, like, why, like, couldn't we, use sociocracy, meeting structures, or add in some other, like, I guess the question is, why would we need to use holacracy meeting structures with sociocracy for everything else?
We wouldn't necessarily, we would just adopt what we want to in a sociocratic way. And it's going to be, which means there's, equity and yeah. Whereas, I don't know, that was what I was seeing is, there's more emphasis on equalized equivalence and equity in sociocratic circles, and there's kind of a way that the meetings are like held in a more human way. At least that's the way I was seeing it when I was looking at it, but that was also years ago. And I haven't really, that's the thing too, if we say, well, we want to present to the group, that we do sociocracy, then I think that we should come up with some specific things too, for them to look at. So maybe we go back into, I haven't read Ted's book. Maybe we go back into those things and say, here's what we're saying that we should be, that this is what a sociocracy is, and we think it fits for these reasons. Do you agree? Do we either have consensus or consent, or however we want to do that? And I think we probably want to have consent rather than consensus, because you just can't get consensus. I also think that you have to have some sort of a leadership team to make decisions. I mean, that's what Haifa found. That's what Seeds found. So you have to have something, and I think we should build that into it as well. That's probably more holacratic.
Yeah.
But like, we talked about last week, this could be a blend. I mean, we can, we don't, yeah.
It could, yeah.
I have an idea.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I screen share and show you like the system that my friend has access to?
For sure. Yeah, you should be good.
Okay. Okay, so this is the system that they've built in Airtable to run their sociocratic organization. So there's a nice little dashboard. There's the layout of how all the circles fit together, and like what their basic overview is, their circles, etc. Here there's for example, there's a proposal that I'm working on at the moment about volunteer management. So this is what it looks like here, like how to actually create a proposal. It's got like which circle is in charge of it, key dates, which they're not there yet because we're still actually drafting this proposal. Like members, people who are tuning it. And then there's an issue statement, which is like we could craft an issue statement today about collective versus cooperative, or sociocracy versus holacracy, or something. We could have that issue statement, and then from there you start to develop the proposal like through these sections of like what aspects need to be worked out, And you can record comments and other things in here, like if you're doing a live meeting, about if people have objections or if they consent to all the pieces. So yeah, this is a part of like what they are doing and how they're running their sociocratic model. And this is the portal that has been offered that we could adapt for holistic systems. And like there's even ways of creating the tasks in here and like allocating them to different people. And that can be, well, they currently have it linked to Slack, but maybe you can have it linked to Discord, I'm not sure. And then there's like, yeah, calendars, and then like backlogs, so that people know what's going on. You can create meeting agendas that are like really specific, like with timed out with like minutes and everything. So yeah, like to me, I see this system working really well. It's being developed by a woman who's a designer, and she's running the thing. She knows the ins and outs of it, and she's happy to help us adapt it to HSC if we would like it to take it on. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah, it looks
it
really
works
great.
well.
What's that?
I've been enjoying using it, you know, which is saying something, I guess. Yeah.
Do you not usually enjoy using portals or things like
No,
that?
no, well, it just feels like very well thought out,
Yeah,
and it also fits like what they're trying to achieve. Like it's got all the places for people to input and to output like tasks, and it is a collaborative space.
yeah, yeah. I mean, first of all, it's just, yeah, it's a really lovely offer. I mean, that's like, that gets me pumped up, that makes me want to like build things and share them with other people. Yeah, it's really, really lovely to just offer that asset up.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, it looks very cool, and I think I think that's just sort of speaking to like what tools do we use, right? Because like, Nestor is sort of, I think, set up with some of the same, ideas, the same goals to be able to, make proposals and look at them and have roles and things like that.
Mhm.
I don't know. I mean, I like that a lot, what you showed me, and I like Airtable, and like, like
Yeah.
we've talked about, if if we start like the web 2 version of kind of tokenizing things and do that through Airtable, then to have everything there, to just have people come and have like the main portal on Airtable, that's a big win.
Yeah, well, I guess the positives are it's free, it's already set up. The person who built it is someone who's like a warm contact. So like if there are any issues, we could always get feedback. And also it's highly customizable with Airtables. So rather like one like Nesta or something, we're always going to just be using their system. But with this one, you could always tinker and tailor it exactly how you want. So if people are confident to do that, which I'm sure there's some guys in this group or people who are confident to do that. So yeah, so that to me, those are the pluses. Yeah, and it might even somehow work with the orbit model. I don't know, like I don't know how it works, but imagine if we could actually get it all in one thing. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I mean. I think that's, if it's in Airtable, then right, that it could be all in one thing. Right. It might require
Hmm.
something like a softer or a stacker, but still the ability to have like somebody go to the same place to work on proposals, and tasks and vote or what, and then also like log their contributions, and that'd be huge. Yeah. And again, some of it may transition to Web3 at a certain point, but I don't know that that's like our top priority right now.
Yeah, I really wonder if Airtable will be able to accommodate any types of Web3 tools. You know, they might decide to integrate with some different tools as well.
They might. Yeah. I mean, that's what Nestor's working on, you know, like this integrating with the blockchain. Maybe Airtable would, you know, start to put in, or there might be a third party, you know, app or something that could do it, that somebody would build. I
Might
don't
look
know.
into that.
Kim, what are your thoughts on that interface?
Yeah, I think that, number one, I love Airtable. I've only worked in it once, but I liked what it did. Number two, it looks like there may be some integrations with Web3 already, through
Oh.
third parties, like you said. There's not much out there. I'm just Googled it just to see what it said. And number three, why reinvent the wheel if someone's already done it? You know, and they're offering to coach us or whatever. I think it'd be great to customize it for ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, she's offered to help set up the automations, which apparently don't copy over automatically, but she can help to, get that going.
Yeah.
So what would be our next step if we wanted to do that?
I would just book something from her website. I just got her calendar link. So it would just be create a time where if you guys wanted to come, we could all be there and just get the lowdown from her.
Yeah.
And just see her just start playing with it. Like she's really an amazing like worker. Like I can see her work ethic is top notch. Like her main focus is on building, like she's an architectural designer by her background, and so her main focus is building like shared housing, like working on those types of projects.
I love
But
architects.
she loves this as well.
I think they seem to know how to do a lot of things.
Yeah.
I
it's
wish I'd
amazing.
gone that route.
Yeah, she's just talented and knows how to work well. Like, you know, she's busy.
What I would like to do is I would propose that we set up something with her. And that we also invite everyone to come to listen so they can see what we're talking about. You know, so we're having a governance circle meeting and we're inviting everyone else to come into it and learn about what we might be looking at, if she's okay with that. And if you both are okay with it.
Yeah, I'm sure she wouldn't mind.
And then if there are any other tools that, you know, we want to look at, you know, this would be the place and the time to do it. I mean, if we wanted to have Yoast or somebody come talk about Nestor, I don't really understand. I mean, I think Yoast is an amazing person, and I'm sure that that he and his group have created something wonderful, but I don't really know very much about it. So. But, you know, it's something that we needed to look at, just to, you know, rule it out or in the decision.
Yeah, might be better to do it separately, like.
Yeah, no, I don't mean at the same time. Sorry, Christine.
Yeah.
No, I mean separately.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could look at it, you know, maybe that's right. That's like part of the proposal, you know, and to bring to folks. I mean, I'm fairly familiar with Nestor. I like it, but you know, it's another you know, it would be redundant with, I think, with the Airtable. So, and you know, and like Christine said, you know, not as flexible or adaptable.
Is it more sophisticated in some way than Airtable? I mean, does it have, you know, maybe I don't know what you call it. I want to call it generations of, you know, different levels that are higher than Airtable that because if it does,
set up differently.
Yeah,
I mean, the number one, to me, you know, the number one coolest thing that Nestor does, you know, which I think is valuable. It's not just, you know, a frill, you know, but is it shows the circular organizational structure, and it shows where the people, you know, like what the roles are, who's occupying those.
Yeah,
You know, so so it's like the interface, you know, for people to see who's where and doing what and how the organization is set up is like is really beautiful and you know, easy to do and to use.
what's, is there a cost for Nestor? Is it
Um,
the Airtable
yeah, I
or
mean,
would it be the
yeah,
same?
they want us to pay money. I mean, I've just been on the gifted plan for like 2 years now or or something, you know, but if we were to really use it, I mean, but the cost is pretty minimal, you know.
Is it comparable to Airtable?
No, it's much less.
Oh,
Airtable,
really?
yeah, Airtable's no joke. I mean, the
Oh, wow.
Airtable's, you know, it's at least it's $20 a month. Airtable is
Okay.
$20 a month, you know, like per per editor. So it doesn't mean that every member that we have is $20 a month, but it means that either we all like, you know, the people who are on the back end who are you know, anybody who's you know, editing the functionality in any way, either we all
Yeah,
have to share one login, you know,
Yeah.
or if we want different people to have different users, then that's, you know, $20 a
Yeah.
month for everybody. And that's just for
Yeah.
the, you know, the sort of first tier paid plan.
Right, right. Okay. Well, I think it might be worth looking at both of them. We could, I guess we would just decide what you want to do first, because I don't want to put your friend Christine through a bunch of, you know, like we were like so in love with Nestor when we, you know, heard about it that we were like, oh no, I just want to do that. You know, so maybe we do Nestor first and then ask her to come after. That's just a thought. What do y'all think?
I think it would be good if we made a list like of things like comparing the capabilities of each one and
Yeah.
what we might hope to achieve. Because like I know that for doing the Village Builders program that we're doing at the moment, Emma's going to build a dashboard for metrics. So like there must be ways that you can take information from your base and actually build something nice that people can look at and get instant. So like what Rob's talking about with the view of the circles, like that could be built probably in
Right.
Airtable.
Right.
So
That's what I figured, yeah. Because so Airtable is really more sophisticated. It might be better than to start with Nestor to just be able to kind of because I would be able to maybe ask better questions if I saw what Nestor's product was, and I'm real comfortable with Yoast if he was the one to present it to, you know, to be able to ask questions. And then I could form my questions for the Airtable product to see, you know, what more can it do, or can it do the same, you know, that kind of thing. So yes, comparing it would be great. I wouldn't know how to list it, you know, now. Maybe you all would be able to
I
do
think
that.
we could have a stab at it. Like, yeah, we might not know exactly everything, but start with making the lists, and because then any questions that we get from Nesta, we could say, well, to Emma, like, so can Airtable do this? And she might just be like, yes, 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 or
Yeah.
no, I'm not sure. You know, like,
That's great.
yeah.
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 No, that, yeah. Okay.
And
Yeah.
if we could somehow integrate the orbit model, like to me, that's like a step up, you know, like where we can customize our own value exchange model. Yeah, which is like a big piece of the whole puzzle.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so what we're looking at, you know, right now with Airtable is not only, you know, the value exchange, you know, contribution log and, you know, all of that, but also like the you know, we're calling it like the member portal, meaning like all of the you know, accessing all of the members and you know, being able to do searches by their, you know, like putting in all the, you know, the stuff from the whole, you know, people's skill sets, right? So we have, you know, the whole person resume. So people's skill sets, we put it in there. And so that being able to search that member database, sorry, that's really the word. So the member database, which also would include like the needs and offerings database. So that's all that's all like fully doable in Airtable, right? That's fairly kind of standard, I mean, that's like for Airtable, it's a database, right? So to have a database of people's, contact records and things, needs and offerings. So we could, do that. And then if we have our first run at the contribution log and token value system in Airtable, and then have the governance in Airtable. And we have, like one portal to rule them all, but that might be worth, sort of like attempting
Yeah.
that.
It could give us some interesting options for voting as well, like, because as we were discussing, some people will need to vote on, like, everyone should hopefully vote on some things, and then some people will need to vote on some things, like, so if we've got all the information in that place, we might be able to create that flow a bit better, and you can create all the forms and everything in Airtable, and different ways of having metrics like of voting. So whether you wanted to do like a warm, like if we wanted to do like a warm vote, or like, out of 10, like, what do you think about this? Or rather than just a yes or no, like there could be all these different ways. I think Airtable would probably allow for a lot of those customized aspects.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I think so. That also gets to the question, I don't know what Nestor has for like voting within its platform. Yeah, it probably does, but that gets to another question, which I don't know that it's an issue now, but at a certain point, would we need a specific tool just like for like the voting, the transaction, so not for like setting up the proposals and putting in all the information and people like looking at it and talking about it, but might we just need a separate tool, like some of these in the list in our governance document, where we say, hey, this is actually where you go and vote, because it's it might, like, I don't know what the permissions are with Airtable, or if it would get, if another separate tool would just be easier. And along with that, right, that is something I don't know, is like these ones like this, like Sway and Lumio and Decidem, and some of them are meant, are made like Polis, like specifically like for group voting. So, and group decision making, like, and just as a tool to make it easier. So I guess my thought is those could be worth, I think, I have checked all those out. They could be worth checking out. It's also something where if we like Airtable, we could start there. And then when we see if there's, we find that there's places lacking, that we need, then we could say, okay, then what is a tool that would be a complement? I don't know, does that make sense?
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting voting stuff out there. And I guess when you were talking, I just started to think it really depends on like how critical these votes are, and also how often people are voting. So if we're only getting them to like vote on like, oh, do we want to have a skill share for the next 3 months, or do we want to have a networking night? Like, I don't know if we need to have this really fancy like thing that does all these metrics and like, gives instant feedback. Like, but if we do develop something that does require that, then I'm all for those like more fancier systems. And I honestly think that it could be a very interesting thing to do, is to have more input from members, to have more opportunities for them to vote on whatever, like just creatively voting. Doesn't have to be like deciding skill shares or networking. It could just be like other types of sense making together, like collective sense making as a group. to help steer like where the whole group is going. So that might require like a more sensitive tool that we could actually then use that for.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, because some of these tools are very cool with how they're set up to
Yeah.
take that input, and then help groups facilitate, consensus and consent. Um, yeah, they're pretty cool. But I think, it sounds like we're saying something similar, Christine, in as much as if we say, okay, well, we have this whole system in Airtable, or we can look at Nestor, but if we start with the system, like that has the basics, we start there, and then we can branch out and start trying tools, but while we're already up and running.
Yeah, it would be fun to think about the strategy of voting. Like, I guess that's like a link between strategy and governance, is like an even member experience, because what sort of experience do we want people to be having, like, as part of the membership group? Like, what sets HSC apart in terms of like how much you can contribute, how much your voice is like put into the pool, how much like you get to interact with others. Like, voting could almost become an interactive tool of interacting with the other group members in some way as well. Like, it's just like a nice way of sharing thoughts and collaborative information. Yeah.
Yeah, and some of these tools, I mean, they're set up pretty neat for that, and they might be more, even though it's another tool for somebody to use, but they might be more like sort of fun or interactive or enjoyable. It might be a more enjoyable or interesting experience.
That's something I'm really interested in. Yeah, like I feel like that's something that a thread I've been following a bit, is like collective input, group sense making. And this could be a good setting for that, like especially if the group gets large enough that people want to explore different ideas together. Yeah.
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 Yeah. And it's also a specific place where we could, tap Jonas and say, hey, this is, like, when we talk about it and, sort of say what, if we want to start experimenting, in this kind of collective, sense making and decision making, what do you suggest? And he could, go and look at them more.
Yeah, I think that would help HSC to stand out, like as a group. We have practices like that are encouraging and open-ended in a lot of ways too. So you're not just voting on proposals, but you're just creating valuable information to share, for want of a better word.
I think that's what we do. I think that's what we do at a lot of meetings, I mean, you could call it, it's almost like, it's not, sometimes it's sense making, but it's, this way of, sort of like floating these ideas around and combining them and saying, oh, now what, what do we, how do we want to consolidate, all of this and coalesce it? Which is, I like having, meetings where we're able to do that, but it might also be nice to have have another format, to be able to do that. So then maybe, we can still have some of those meetings, but don't, could leave more space for more operational meetings.
Well, like what if like during the week people had access to certain tools or certain things like to do sense making, And then when they come to like a community meeting, then they chat about like, oh, like, you know, we had this input, like 47% of people said this, and like, you know, people made these comments, and like, so we've got this data, or like, we've got this pool of information to already draw upon when we get together. We're not all trying to talk like all at once type thing.
Yeah. Sounds
Could be
very cool to
interesting.
me. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it'd
Kim,
be
what do
fun.
you, I'm just gonna refill my water.
Okay.
Kim, anything popping in?
Nope.
You did,
You
you
gotta
did
drink
your
some
part.
water too, Kim. Stay hydrated.
That's true. Actually, it's true. Need to-
What sort of wine do you drink? What wine do you got at the moment? What do you like?
Oh, it's a Joel Gott cab. It's
Hmm.
just a cheap cab.
Calves, yeah. Yeah.
Hmm. Um, I'm looking at the time.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I mean, I think we have done a lot today, and actually, you know, made some sort of decisions. What do we like? It feels like we're saying like right now the governance, you know, group, you know, have some recommendations. You know, we're saying like, okay, well, it's recommending sociocracy as, you know, kind of the base. Doesn't mean that there can't be other pieces added, but like the kind of you know, base framework. Um, and then yeah, then we're considering um I guess I'm trying to think like as far as you know, in practicality, what would be good, because if we, you know, if we want to float sociocracy, then we you know, like we could say, I mean, are we ready to make a proposal for that? And then what is the next step? Like, do we, you know, do we want to like get some kind of tool in place so that way we can start doing that? Does that seem like a priority? Or do we
Yeah,
just say,
that
yeah,
seems like the natural progression is, so we want to do sociocracy. We want to keep the cooperative is what I think I'm hearing, although we may not work under the, as, you know, as rigidly as some of the cooperatives do. And then we want to look at the tools that will get us there, right? So then is at that point that you ask Jonas then to look at different tools, or do we then move on to, hey, let's take a look at the Airtable tool, let's take a look at the Nestor tool. Jonas, do you have any other tools that we should look at? Now, Jonas, this is where we're moving, because I know he was interested in the tools. I just don't know at what level he's interested. Anyway, that's just my suggestion for
yeah,
just moving it along. So,
yeah, I'm trying to, so we said kind of float sociocracy is the idea. What was the, and then looking at the tools, you said something in the middle, or did I?
oh, I said we would stay a cooperative,
Oh, yeah,
but
or yeah,
yeah, to stay a cooperative, period. Yeah.
I feel like that would be a proposal as well,
Okay,
ideally,
Yeah.
to the group. Yeah.
sure. Yeah, so to look at the different, the difference between, yeah, what that is or what that means, so.
right.
And
Um,
I was just looking at Nestor's way of describing it, and they don't do it like the way I was looking at it with all this legal stuff, you know, it's so. Maybe it's not quite
Mhm.
as rigid as I thought, but, or maybe, you know, maybe words really don't matter. So,
I just don't want it to bite us in the butt at some point. That like is the main thing.
Yeah. well, and
yeah,
that's why I think it would be interesting then to also get the input from these other people that, you know, you've got for Airtable and even Nestor to say what, I would love to hear his opinion on anything, but yeah, he would be one I would say, when you guys look at cooperatives, what's the difference and why did you do it this way? So, or why are you putting it out that way? Anyway, I'd have to get way more educated before I could ask the questions, but But that's, I'm just trying to get a process down where we can progress.
Yeah. Making a note.
What about we have a collaborative space, either in Miro or Document, where we start to do the comparisons for the two, Nesta and Airtable, and
Mm.
like just have a couple of eyes on it because people might see different things. Like we can go by the websites, but because the Airtable is that I've got is customizable, it's sort of like you've just got to try to pinpoint something. So it might be trickier to pinpoint, but that's why I think having someone like Emma describe it all, that might actually help people get that into context as well. Like what actually it does, rather than me trying to like piece it together. So I think a list would be helpful, but I'm just mindful of like how can we get Emma's input without wasting her time. And the same with the other guy from that you mentioned.
Yeah, no, I would want to make sure that we know what we're doing. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm gonna put in the chat because I don't know who's scribing.
I'll be making notes. Yeah.
Have you?
Oh,
Okay,
good. I
good.
made a little bit of notes, so.
So
But-
one thing that we're saying right now is we would review and compare Airtable and Nestor based on what we can find with what you have from your friend, and then what we can find online, I guess, I guess. I mean, I don't have the expertise to go out and look at Airtable myself and try to figure it out. I would have to have somebody guide me through it. So
Why don't we, I mean, we could, yeah, I think it's a good idea. You know, it doesn't have to be like comprehensive, but I think if we just, good enough, it'll start to give us an idea. I mean, Christine, do you want to just like put in, do Airtable and kind of put in like, okay, these are the general, make that list. These are the general features, pieces that can do. I mean, I can take Nestor.
There might be some things with Airtable though that I need your input from, like because you've used Airtable in different settings already, so you might know some other things other than the sociocracy portal that I've got. Like, how does Airtable work generally? That might be a good way of, you can put in some notes about that.
Yeah. I mean, if there's a way where I had to just like decide right now, I would probably just say like, let's try that Airtable, because the possibilities, for connecting it with the rest of the member database and the tokens, is really good. That's a huge possibility. And then I think, right, like Christina's saying, there's ways where the features on something like that could expand in a way that they're not going to expand so much on somebody, else's like third-party tool. I mean, maybe we could, take a look at Nestor or something. Yeah, that's just sort of like, if I had to like decide right now.
Yeah, I can see like there's benefits to Nesta, like from a cultural point of view. You guys are involved with that stream of those people and everything. But what is HSC trying to build? That's what I'm looking at, is like, if we're going to build something unique, we might need something a bit more unique in terms of a tool set. That's the open space I'm sort of considering weighing up.
Yeah, well, maybe we don't have to like go nuts on it, but maybe we do our like due diligence. Just in a base way, like you could just, sort of like go, make a list of the features that are there in place now.
Mhm.
on the Airtable, and I can do the same, with Nestor, and then maybe we can it might make sense to do that, and then once we have those, say like, hey, Jonas, like, what do these other tools have, that these ones don't, and see like if see like what's lacking that like another tool that would be doing, like really allow us to get deep into the the conversations, and the sense making might have.
That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah, so I can do Nestor if you want to do do Airtable. Again, I don't think we have to like go to down a deep rabbit hole. But at least that is probably going to be good information no matter what going forward. Kim, do you want to look at deeper into like sociocracy and how they do meetings?
Yeah, I would like to do that. Yep.
Yeah.
So I can do that. You guys will work on,
Unknown caller.
there's been so much spam. You guys can work on those two tools, and then I think we get Jonas back involved to let him know. We just need to let him know before we meet what we're meeting about, because it may be something he'd like to be here for. And so he
Yeah.
may want to be in on that discussion for sure. So would you then see us then the next meeting, we come back, look at the work you've done, look at the work I've done, have Jonas there, and then we maybe pick up some proposals from there or go to the next step. If we want to review, get an actual meeting with anybody before we go forward, or we want to put a proposal out to the group. Is that kind of what you see? Did I make sense?
We could yeah, I mean, we could float, like these two items, like the saying that we our recommendation is sociocracy, that number one, and then also like just kind of float the general idea of like collective and cooperative. We could float those to the group now on Discord,
Okay. So
in a
who's the lamplighter for this? Is that you? Is that you?
it's not going to be me now, certainly for the next week, because
Okay.
Thursday I go out of town offline on a retreat, and then I come back, and Monday's my birthday, and then Tuesday is one of my best friend's birthdays. Our birthdays touch.
Will you even
Um,
have any time to do this?
I probably won't have time to do the Nestor thing before next Tuesday. Yeah.
Do you want to not meet next Tuesday and put it off another week and in the middle, float it out there on Discord and then say we're gonna meet on Tuesday if anyone's interested? Because I mean, I think, having, we would, that was one thing we would do at Seeds is just open up our meeting so that if it was kind of a fly on the wall thing. We'd say we're gonna have our meeting, our circle meeting, but if anyone's interested, you can come. But just know that, you're not necessarily being invited to participate, but but you can certainly listen, and then at the end, if you have questions or something, you can ask those.
Basil Childers. Yeah. Well, that's one thing we've been talking about is at this point, and Saya made made this point, which I thought was good, was like at the scale we're at, it may not really be necessary right now to kind of like have, hard and fast, you're in this circle or you're not in this circle.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's good to have people who are saying like, hey, this is the circle and I'm committed to, but like,
I'm
yeah,
not, I wasn't necessarily suggesting a structure of the circle. I was just saying, if we have a meeting on this in 2 weeks, we can either just continue to do it as a circle, or if we want to open it up, we can. It doesn't make any difference to me.
yeah.
But I would hope that the meeting that we would have in 2 weeks would be, like a pivoting point, then we would go to the next thing. So
Yeah,
whatever that might be. And I
What
don't know.
about later next week? Like rather than Tuesday? Is there a time later next week, Rob?
That's also Independence Day is next week for us, isn't it?
Oh,
it is.
Thursday.
And that's on Thursday.
Okay.
You know, it's also, right, like, I want to, you know, if you wanted to keep it rolling, I don't have to be the person who, you know, who investigates Nestor. But I also want to like take on, you know, part of the accountabilities. It's just, yeah.
Well, you could cheat and you could write Yoast and say, hey, send me a list of everything. Like, send me a list of all the features and we'd have them.
Yeah. Let me see. Let me think about later next week. I mean, I'm up for it, but I don't know, Kim, you know, are you up? I know it's like right July 4th and then the 5th.
Yeah, I don't really have any plans, so I think I would be okay, like on the 5th. It's gonna be so hot here, I'm not planning to go anywhere. So, maybe pool time, you know, that'd be about it. At someone's pool, if it's not like boiling water.
Man.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, I think that's fine. I mean, I can sort of say you know, on Friday the 5th. Honestly, I'm not going to be going anywhere probably for the next, I don't know, certainly month. Yeah, there's one job that just came in, and then there's another one that might come in. So I'm like, all of a sudden, yeah, pretty swamped. But I think that this is like it's kind of pretty foundational, you know. So if we can get, you know, if we get started and get a tool and get a way to, for, you know, people to start like putting in proposals and floating those around, and, you know, then that's a big piece that gets other things moving.
Mhm.
Yeah, so what do you think, Christine?
I guess there's a much of a muchness between the 5th and the 9th. But yeah, just waiting 2 weeks to have any action, that feels like a fairly long time. But if we did have some back and forth, like making the lists and deciding who we're going to meet with or when, like whether that's Emma and Yoast, or how, you know, possibly I could meet with Emma before the next meeting and record something, like not a big hour-long thing, but just something that's like 10-15 minutes, and where she just runs through everything.
Mhm.
And maybe that would be helpful for people to see. I don't, you know, like I'm just thinking about what can happen asynchronously there.
Yeah, I mean, we could just schedule for the 5th, and, you know, it's not too much, you know, it still gives us, right, you know, then we could come up with some decisions then, and then, you know, and then schedule for the next week.
Schedule with the outside
Yeah, schedule with
consultant.
the outside folks.
Okay.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, you know, as far as it's up to you, you know, as far as Emma, right, to like get something quick recorded, but, you know, there's a way where like you, like what you did today, like, you know it well enough to you know,
I know it well enough. She knows it like in and out, so
yeah,
it
it'd be
depends
great,
like how much depends how much people need to be convinced about it. Like, you know, like some people might be very like skeptical about Airtable, so they might need more information.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, probably, I don't know that, I think people would, for the most part, sort of go with our recommendation.
Right.
Yeah. Um, I think it'd be great to like have, if we sort of say, hey, we're leaning that way towards Airtable, I think it'd be great to have like a, like a full meeting with Emma, where she really, dives into it. Um,
Well, we could just watch her set it up for us. Like if people want to be there, like she could just set it up and show us what it does, and yeah, people can, like, we're not committing, she's not going to be like terribly personally hurt if it doesn't work out, I don't think. She just wants people, she's just wanting to share like what she's got. So
totally. Yeah, I mean,
mm,
I think that the idea is we're doing like, if we're waiting until the 5th or whatnot, we're doing it because we want to do like due diligence, on Nestor. Um, so that way, if we say, hey, Emma, we want to like have a meeting with you, and we're thinking, like we're sort of saying like, yeah, we've looked at choices and we would like to try to go this way.
mhm, yeah.
Or same thing with Yoast. So if we want to do that, then yeah. And if I'm going to be the person who does, the Nestor research, then yeah, then I think it would have to be until Friday the 5th.
I'll just look at Nesta anyway, like, because I just want to know what their actual list of stuff is. But yeah, if you can make the actual list, because I probably will miss stuff. And I don't know if Nesta has integrations, like I don't know what Nesta
Yeah.
can do exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can do it like when I get back next week. I think it could be a good
Okay.
exercise because I think that there's this way, like we're talking about, holacracy and, versus sociocracy. And I think, I mean, I think, well, Nestor can be set up for either, but I think there's a way where it could be a good exercise because Nestor is so, kind of connected with like Haifa and with that ecosystem. And I think it's also connected with, kind of holacracy. I think for the extra few days, it could be like a good exercise and also give us like, I think that list, of like the comparable list could be like a really good framework, as, for going forward too. And choose, and saying like, okay, then what would we choose, for like another tool if we want that more, like you were saying, that more sensitive, decision-making
Mm,
tool.
yeah. Mhm. Yeah, because that's when you could get fancy and start doing more like fun Web3 stuff and create different resources from that info. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
Is that it, you reckon?
I think that's it.
Hey.
Um, yeah, I think that was really good progress.
Could we just summarize what we're going to do?
Sure.
So I'm going to look at sociocracy. And I'm going to put it on mirror board. Did you put it in the notes?
Yeah,
Okay.
I put it in the notes.
I'll have my notes there shortly.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, so Kim, you're gonna look at I know I need to make it bigger. Yeah, so you're gonna look at sociocracy and how it does meetings. And I think that's good because we do want to, at a certain point soon decide how we want to do, not only how we run meetings, but what kind of meetings we have and how often. Yeah, and then Christine and I have our duties Um,
And then put the 5th. Do you want to put the 5th down there?
oh
The
yeah,
next meeting.
What will be our goal for them for the 5th?
or no, I know I need to like move these things down. The 5th, I think. The goal, right, is to, I think the first goal is to make a decision on Airtable or Nestor as the starting tool.
And then also, what about just making a few draft proposals? They might not be ready to go, but we can have some drafts.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like along with that, like maybe you know, uh, decide, you know, look at how we would start the proposal process in sociocracy framework. Yeah, so then make the draft proposals and then like kind of try and you know, start directing it into sociocracy. Even though I guess one of the proposals would be, hey, let's use sociocracy, but
Okay. Sounds good.
Um,
Would it be the same time then on Friday or 5 o'clock or my time, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock Eastern time?
that's fine by me. Christine, is that okay with you, or do you want to try and do it
Let me
later?
just, no, it should be fine. I'll just like quickly just pull up my calendar just so I can confirm. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, and then, okay, and then, I'll take your notes off the document, or yeah, I'll just make sure Jonas knows, so he can be there if he wants to be. So,
Like I could make it an hour earlier if Jonas really wanted to come to the next meeting. Like I could do a 7 a.m. if you guys are flexible.
fine with me.
Yeah, it's
So we'll
fine with
see.
me.
We'll see if
Yeah,
he
I
really
think the
wants to
question
come.
is like, does Jonas want to come to that meeting, or or would like a next meeting be fully concentrating on tools? I guess we're talking a lot about tools in that meeting.
Yeah, I think he might be interested in this.
Cool. Well, he might also have something to do to prepare for that meeting too. Like if we think of anything, or he might come up with an idea.
Yeah. Okay, so Kim, do you want to,
Yeah.
are you going to be responsible for passing that along to
Yeah,
Jonas?
yeah, I did
Okay,
last time,
cool.
so I'll just be the Jonas contact.
Okay. Well, you're done so great
Liaison.
so far.
Okay,
All right. Great. Any checkouts?
well, I would like to say thank you. This was a good meeting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going well. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
And, yeah, and everybody have a good week, and, birthday boy. Happy birthday. Should we sing?
Are
I don't
you
know. Are we
excited
close enough?
about your birthday?
What's that?
Are you excited about your birthday?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I am excited about it. You know,
Okay. Well, that's
it's
good.
good that it's coming like right along. It's at the same time as I'm gonna be off anyways, you know, so it has the opportunity to have, you know, like more birthday spaciousness around it, you know, than
Mhm.
than it might usually. So yeah, hopefully it's good weather. Not raining. Go out to a lake somewhere.
Hope so. Does it
Nice.
normally, are you gonna be in Boston?
No.
Where are you?
Oh, the retreat is in
Oh.
upstate New York, but then
Oh,
I'll be back on my birthday.
okay.
Yeah. And I'm excited, right? And I'm only turning 49, so that's exciting. That I'm not gonna be turning 50.
49ers, isn't that a thing?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And then I can just,
Yeah.
whatever.
Have the best year ever for when you turn 50. But when you turn 50, HSC is going to be thriving, awesome and huge,
go.
and you'll be like, yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. There'll be so many people and it'll be like, we'll
Yeah.
go come together for an in-person birthday party.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
That's a good visioning,
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so make that wish when you blow out your candles.
Perfect.
And you know, we'll toast you. We'll be thinking about you. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, enjoy your holiday.
All right. Yeah, thanks
Okay.
everyone.
All right,
Be in
thank you.
touch. Thanks. Yeah, thanks. It's good. Good progress.
See y'all.
Okay,
Bye,
bye.
y'all.